Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start dropping. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello everybody and welcome to Brands Hatch for the penultimate round of the Radical Race Series in 2023 Season 1. It's been one of the best championships to date and we're coming up to the very end now with hopefully an exciting last couple of rounds. Lots of championship implications to come, lots of maths to be done here this evening, but very much looking forward to it once again. My name is Ewan. I'm alongside James Parfitt for the evening. It's great to be here again, James. The championship really hotting up at this point. As I said, it's going to be maths heavy this stream, but it's going to be good. We've got a very good championship fight on our hands. Certainly is, but at the top it is Luke Maxwell just for now ahead of John McCutchinson in second by about 10 points or so. Simon Edwards 16 points back, Dan Webster 28 points back and needs a bit of a performance here today to keep his championship hopes alive. Mike Brewson's in fifth ahead of James Child. Then it's, well, I can't really see. I don't know, to be honest. Paul Clark, oh yeah, I can just make that out now. Yeah, it's coming back. Robert Woodward in the 8th place, and they're gone again, so you're going to have to carry on, James. Yes, and they're all pretty close, which is a good thing. Very glad about it. So just to explain, I think this does need a little bit of explaining because the championship implications are quite complicated tonight. Luke Maxwell currently has a 10-point lead over the rest. With John McCutchinson behind. Now, if Maxwell goes into the final race with 10 points or more of a championship advantage over anybody, then he has won the title with 1 round to go. There is no way he can be caught from there. If John McCutchinson is only 1 point behind Luke Maxwell, though, or if he's level on points, or if he's ahead on points of Luke Maxwell and everybody else, then he's won the title as well. If Simon Edwards is ahead of both Luke Maxwell and John McCutchinson by the end of tonight, he's won the title by the end of tonight. And Dan Webster can't be in the lead of the championship by the end of tonight, I don't think, without a miracle. I don't think he can at all. But he can still keep himself alive with a couple of good results. Probably needs to be 2 wins, but certainly 2 podiums needed from Dan Webster to keep his title hopes alive. And they are quite slim. Here at this stage in the season, and there he is getting the practice in 5th place right now. So it's complex. It's very, very complex. The great thing about what we've got in this practice session right now, we'll see if it holds through the race, but we've got other names in there as well. It's not just about the big 4 as it was last week, incidentally. We've got Paul Clark, Paul LeMay in there in the top 6 as well, and there's plenty of others around that aren't that far behind.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting things it is to see how this one all pans out here. And I think that's going to be exciting. As you say, the LeMay is in the mix, which is great for Paul LeMay. He's missed a couple of rounds. He's injured himself. He's back now running in the car. So that's always good for him. And then, of course, you used to say you've got the likes of Dan Webster in 5th. It is going to be complicated, Ewan, isn't it? We're not expecting this to be an easy end to this championship, but it has been one of the best ones we've had so far.
It certainly has. and it's been very enjoyable to be a part of. So yeah, no complaints from me. The drop weeks do make things a little bit more complicated, as we've said in the past, but still going to enjoy it. Still going to be a good finale. I'm very sure about that. So let's see how we get on. As I mentioned, it's not just about the Big Four, though. We do have Paul Clark, Paul LeMay in there as well. I'm very glad to have Paul LeMay on the circuit again, as opposed to being in chat, which is what happens normally. Plenty of people in chat, though, enjoying the racing here this evening, and there will be plenty of racing to enjoy. I have to say, we after the last couple of weeks, we've come off the broadcast saying, well, that's some of the best racing we've seen all season. We can't keep having best racers of the season after one another. We'll have to pick one at some point, but Alton Park and Silverstone have really delivered for us over the last fortnight.
Yeah, they've been absolutely barnstorming races. You know, we've got Colin Wynn, Phil across the pond, Darryl Taylor, Ewan Bramer, and Godden 13 here as well. John McCutcheon's just jumped in and said, evening. Good evening to you. Why are you in chat? You should be going around a race circuit, are you not? Or am I missing something that John's not currently in the session? No, he's not in the session. Is he?
He's just done with practice, clearly.
He's just clearly thought he'd pop in and say hello, to be fair. Hello, John. How are you? There you go. Tonight's race, I think that's the problem for us. We've been spoiled, haven't we? The racing has been absolutely incredible over the last 2 rounds, and I'm expecting this one to be no different. And I think that's one of the things that has made this series the way it is. I know there's talks on the format for next season's possibly staying the same, so we're going to keep an eye out on that one and see what's decided from there as well, because I think this format has just thrown this championship wide open. The racing has been incredible, and Alton Park was the one that we said was the best one we've ever watched, but you know, last time out of the Silverstone circuit, it was still a great race as well.
Well, yeah, you can make a case for that being the best race of the season as well, so who really knows. It's been a good last couple of races as the checkered flag flies now in practice, with Simon Edwards on top right now. Luke Maxwell just over the line with another lap. He won't get any further up the order, neither will Paul LeMay, who just can't get to the line quite in time. But it's about qualifying now. We're not going to see what we've seen at some other circuits where we've just had, basically only time for the 3 laps. We've got time for plenty more than that, but you only get 3 laps around here, of course, in the Radical Race Series. So you've got to be on it right from the very start. And for those 4 championship contenders, it really is a huge few laps for these drivers. And Brands Hatch is a really nice circuit, I think, to watch in qualifying. It's a really difficult circuit to get right, but a really rewarding one as well. And the best qualifying lap here is going to be very, very rewarding indeed, and going to be very easy on the eye, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think I do love Brands as a circuit. I think it really does sort of, bring out what sort of form of traditional racing they can do in this SR10. When they're throwing it in to the likes of Surtees on that run down into Hawthorne, that's where it's going to be action, I think, as well. And obviously, if anybody makes a mistake coming through Dingledale and Dingledale corner, well, if you're coming out of the corner, there's grass on the left-hand side, mate, and we know what these cars are like on grass. It is literally Bambi on ice. So they are going to have to really try, and over the first couple of laps, we've seen it over the first couple of laps, haven't we, with cold tyres, that they really need to kind of make sure that they can get it correct.
They certainly do, and all 3 laps very important as you build your way towards that final lap, which we always talk about as being by far the most important. So should be a good one, should be very much an important one for everybody. But let's see how we get on watching driving through the final corner right now. Going to go over the line and we'll kick things off. And we do have some crossing the line in front of us here, in front of Paul LeMay. He's not going to be the first, but he will be one of the first as everybody makes their way out there. And by the way, just a last comment on this actually before we get into some proper qualifying laps. Very big grid here today, about 20 cars I think saw in practice, maybe a bit more. One of the biggest grids we've seen all year.
Yeah, I think that just basically sums up how much people are enjoying it, the fact that people have come back. There's people that have missed races as well. David Beasley's back on track tonight here, and I think it's great to see them coming back because it is an amazing series. Phil has put best series on iRacing. Oh, there we go. That just sums it up really, doesn't it? As we've got Simon Edwards setting purples across the board. So let's jump on board with him, and he's coming around the Sterling's corner. So let's see how he gets on and see what kind of time he gets on the board.
Yeah, let's see. Through the final corner for Simon Edwards. And yeah, let's see where he gets to. It's difficult to really set a benchmark here at this stage. It's or difficult to know whether it's going to hold out, I should say. Over the line, he's not quite good. Well, he is going to be the first one, and he will not be beaten either by the first 5 or 6 over the line there. But we've still got plenty of time yet to give. Luke Maxwell slots up into second place right now. So good opening time from him. Might push him a little bit further down than where you'd expect him, maybe. 5th place in the standings. David Roddeston with a good start to a lap there as well. Dan Webster moves up to 3rd place. Haven't seen John McCutcheon over the line just yet. That's Paul Clark. Where can he get to? 2nd in practice, 2nd in the qualifying session as well. As John McCutcheon really has left himself a lot of room here to get up to speed.
Yeah, he's got 6.5 minutes remaining as well, of course. He is currently coming round, dropping down into Dingledale and into Dingledale corner. This is coming up to the right-hander. You're a blind right-hander. You just got to point the car, shoot, and hope you can turn it in time before you hit that wonderful grass patch on the right-hand side, which could lead to some rather amazing, spectacular crashes, hopefully. But they will be able to get through. Well, hopefully not, yes. So hopefully they will be able to get through and not have any issues there.
Well, that's the idea anyway, but it's a circuit that certainly does punish mistakes as we go over the line with John McCutcheon right now. I don't know if he's going to slot in. He looked more like he was going on an outlap there, really, than anything else. So we'll see where he gets to. Simon Edwards over the line again there. Don't know if he improved. Paul Crubb certainly did. And Dan Webster certainly did as well. He's moved up to 2nd place right now in the order. And we're into the 17s as well. Luke Maxwell up into 2nd place. So all 3 of the championship contenders are there. They're all in the 117s. John McCutcheon now just needs to join them with this lap time.
Yeah, you've got Paul Clark coming over the line in quali currently at this moment in time. He is sitting first, 4th, gone purple, still purple in 4th place, 1:17.799. John McCutcheon has got a purple on the board as well in sector 3. So let's see how he can get on through the remaining part of this lap.
Well, yeah, it's a good start, but this is, in my opinion, the most difficult part as you're going through the back section of the circuit. Out in the trees, in the forest, to where the grass lines either side of the road. It's very, very tricky indeed to thread the needle through here and get it all right. Up towards the final corner now for John McCutcheon, who really needs to gain points today. He can't afford to lose points to Luke Maxwell today, otherwise he'll no longer be able to win the championship. Over the line now for John McCutcheon, and he's going to get to 5th. It's not a bad opening lap time. He's still got 2 more to come. And he's still got 4 minutes 30 as well, so he should be able to do it. Luke Maxwell was going purple, but he's gone back to pit lane. He won't be able to do anything further from here. Oh, no, he will. Wow, it's Dan Webster who's gone back to the pit lane, excuse me. But Luke Maxwell has gone quicker. Simon Edwards won't be able to respond, I don't think. It's now up to John McCutcheon, who's got 2 attempts at getting near Luke Maxwell.
Yeah, we'll see how McCutcheon goes. He's on a 1:18.007 at the moment here, and if he's going round a Hawthorne before they go down a little bit here called Derek Minter Street, but believe it or not. But you know, let's see how he goes as he drops down into Dingledale. I do like this drop down. You go dropping it down, and then you have literally got a blind entry into the corner in the top of the hill before you come left here as well. So stay tuned for this one, because it is going to be absolutely amazing here tonight as well, and I cannot wait for this one. I think it's going to be a really good studded sprint and feature with everybody everybody battling away really for the championship.
Well, exactly, and we'll see how many contenders we still have by the end of tonight. McCutcheon over the line in his 2nd lap. He's still 7th as George Gonzaga makes his way up to 4th place. What a lap that is from him. Wasn't expecting that at all, but he's made it into 4th place, and fair play to him. Up towards the line now with Graham Brown as well. Phil Glover still out there a little bit further down in the 120s is Phil. Just at the moment needs to find quite a bit of time to get anywhere near the rest. Up towards the line comes comes Graham Brown now, and he will not improve. He'll stay 13th, but looks like he's still got a lap to go, and so has Martina Ward. So has John McCutcheon. He's not going purple though.
No, he's not currently at the moment, but he has improved over sectors 1 and 2 and 4. So it's whatever he's lost in sector 3, it's whether or not he can negate that with the other three sectors. He hasn't got he doesn't need to gain a lot of time to move forward a lot of places. You can see the gap is barely a tenth up to Dan Webster. So if he can gain at least a tenth or 2 tenths, this could be second place here for John McCutcheon as he's coming over the line now. What is he going to do? He's lost time in the final one. Second place. There you go. Look at that.
Wow.
It's like I've got a crystal ball.
Well, he very much needed that. 7th place wasn't going to be enough for John McCutcheon. Really, he needed those extra places, no doubt. And he's gotten very much nearer Luke Maxwell as they start this race. Phil Glover still seemingly on his he's just on his in-lap, he's done his final lap. Graham Brown, I think, has still got one more. He's over the line and he doesn't improve. It's Phil Glover just doing a bit of a practice start. Graham Brown stays 13th. Martina Ward, I'm not sure whether she has another lap actually.
No, 2.9. No, she's just coming to the end. She's done 3, coming on to the 3rd one. So,
doing practice start by the looks of things, which is can never go amiss. And I think John McCutcheon's going to be worried about this start as well, because we often talk to him after the races and think, what went off on the start there, and he just never seems to get going quite right. He's still not really nailed this car in terms of getting it off the line, and he really needs to in this race.
It's the problem is, right, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a consistent driver, but when I do drive the SR10, it's so difficult because I could do one start exactly the same way and I'll get it off the line. I'll do another start exactly the same way as the first one and I've got wheel spin and smoke coming out my back end. So, it's so difficult to try and find a fine balance, and it is literally, it could be just a rev, like literally one more rev than you put in last time and you're spinning the car up. So it's difficult. It is difficult.
It is, as everyone's found out here. And I guess the front straight here at Brands Hatch doesn't help anyone either, really. It rises and falls. If we had a pretty double the size, there'd be some people going downwards, some people upwards, and then some people downwards again, and vice versa, and so on. It does just rise and fall at just this front straight, so that can produce some weird starting results as well. But let's see how they get on. Luke Maxwell's going to start from the front with John McCutcheon. That's going to be Simon Edwards and Dan Webster sharing row 2. The top 4 championship contenders on the first 2 rows. Ahead of George Gonzaga, who's put in a great lap there for 5th. Paul Clark 6th, ahead of Paul LeMay. Then it's Mike Boussin in 8th, ahead of Paul Crabb and Seth Brown. There's so many Pauls, my God. Daryl Taylor's 11th, ahead of David Rolliston. Then it's Graham Brown, who we saw there slotting into 13th, ahead of James Child. Martina Ward rounds out the top 15 with David Beasley. Robert Woodward is 17th, sharing row 9 with Jamie Bird. Then it's Damien G, Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn rounding out your 21 car grid for this race here at Brands Hatch. And what a high pressure race it is. John McCutcheon's in there just slotting onto the front row. You can see everybody getting ready now in the final seconds before the lights come on. And the 4th last race, 3rd last even, we've only got one next week. It's 3rd last race in the Radical Race Series for 2023 Season 1 is about to get underway as championship leader Luke Maxwell sits on the front. As I mentioned, very, very important, because if he doesn't lose any points to his championship rivals today, then he is going to be champion with 1 round to go. But there's a long way between now and then. Lights not far away from coming on. There they are. And the 3rd last race in the Radical Race Series for 2023 Season 1 set to get underway at Brands Hatch. We are green, and it's Luke Maxwell versus John McCutcheon on the front row with Simon Edwards steaming through the middle. He goes up the inside and looks like he's got it into turn 1 and should do into turn 2 as well. Nobody's challenging Maxwell, but it does look like McCutcheon versus Edwards through turn 2. Edwards gets through without too many problems. Dan Webster stays 4th. It's a very good start for Simon Edwards, but possibly even better for Luke Maxwell, who's got a car length or 2 on his rivals.
Yeah, he needed to do that early on. I tell you what, Maxwell needed to get off the line. It's been interesting to watch Paul LeMay might boost on Paul Crabb battle here as well. Unfortunately for LeMay, he has been going down in the order with Daryl Taylor trying to have a go at him down down the straight as well. But as you say, for how important was that for Maxwell? Massively. He had to get that jump. He had to get out in front, and he had to do it straight off that line. And he did. The problem now is he's got Maxwell, he's got Edwards, he's got McHutchinson, he's got Webster behind him, and well, we know Gonzaga behind that as well. But there are 4 championship contenders in the top 4, and this is just going to be an absolute ding-dong of a race.
Darrell Taylor's off. Darrell Taylor's bit off at the top of the hill there. I think it was the... he's got big suspension damage there as well by the looks of it. That's not a car that is too healthy or too happy. And probably... Oh, no, well, maybe it was just the way he was on the grass then. He might be all right. Well,
no,
I'll say that. No, he's having more problems than that. Interestingly, no chicane on the way in here today, but no pit stops needed either, so that's fine. But into the pit lane for Darrell Taylor, I'm afraid. Not a good start to his race, and he'll have to pick himself up for the next one. Simon Edwards off! Simon Edwards is off, and it looks like that was at the bottom of the hill there through the left-hander. What has happened to Simon Edwards? I think he's clipped the grass on the way in to turn 3. And he's gone up the hill into the grass. That is so damaging for the 4-time champions' aspirations in this season. He can't afford a mistake like that.
No, he can't. We can have a quick look why he is now battling away. As you can see, he's just coming down the hill. Oh, gets out of shape, and then unfortunately he's onto the grass and into the gravel. So
it wasn't even grass on the way in there. He just lost it on his own. Well, that is a rare mistake from Simon Edwards, you'd have to say. We very rarely see that, but it couldn't have come at a worse time, really. He's now back in the pack. He's behind Paul Clark, which is going to be a problem to figure out later. But he's behind Paul Crabb and Paul LeMay right now, in towards turn 1. This is exactly why Simon Edwards didn't want to be in the pack.
Yeah, no, the problem is he's got 2 quick drivers in front of him in the likes of Crabb and in the likes of LeMay. So from his point of view now, Edwards has really got to try and pick his places. He needs to get through within the next 7 laps. He needs to be able to do this. But the problem is finding that space. And the problem is if he gets into his head that he's got to be aggressive, because if he's going to be aggressive and he's going to start sending them on the likes of LeMay and Crabb, he's going to be dangerous, because then, you know, they're not going to give quarter. They're not going to turn around and say, yeah, there you go through, son, on your own, crack on, because they're still fighting as well. And it's going to be a tough one for Edwards. We will keep an eye on him as he starts moving his way through the pits here, but we have got Graham Brown battling away with Martina Ward currently at the moment as well, and they're going 2 wide through Dingledale. I can't really see that working. No, Graham Brown does get the position here as well, but we are, look at the action further back. Robert Woodward under attack from James Child, and there he goes. Stop that one on the grass. Done a stellar job, and whoa, Phil Glover dropping down the order now with
Jamie,
Robert Woodward.
Jamie Bird and Robert Woodward as well, they're all involved there. So 3-car incident down at the penultimate corner. I'm very sure that they were all connected as well, and they were all part of the same incident there.
Well,
so
we can have a look.
Mike Poussin's dropping down now as well, so it's all going on here.
That is Child and Woodward. Oh, that's not going to be a lot of good behind the trees, is it? There goes Child. Oh, Woodward and Bird come to contact.
Well, well, that was all just a big mess, really. We saw it around the back of the circuit. It is a lot harder to go side by side around there, well, we've just seen why, really. It's very, very tricky indeed. So unfortunately, a few cars off, and it's really split apart, that group behind. But this group in the midfield still very much together. Simon Edwards has gained another place because Mike Poussin went off at the final corner and has dropped to 13th now. So Edwards is up to 8th, but he's behind Paul LeMay. He's behind Paul Crabb as well, behind Paul Clark. My word, that really is a row of drivers. But I mean, top 5 is where this train is stemming from, and there's not long in this race for him to get much more than that.
No, I'm struggling to be able to see where he's going to be able to pass LeMay within the next 5 laps. I don't want to say this is as best as Edwards is going to get, because as we know, anything is possible. But I'm fightful to see where he could do it with Paul LeMay roughly doing the same amount of time. You know, he's not pulling out 10ths on him, he's pulling out 100s on him. So I don't know if it's going to be enough for Edwards, and I'm not saying that's where he's going to end up finishing, but it is possible. However, back up front, we have got John McHutchison is closing in on Maxwell. Currently there, Ewan in first and second place.
Well, let's not forget that Edwards needs to gain points on Maxwell today. He's 16 points behind him right now and needs to be 9 or less points behind to have a chance going into the final race, or a little bit closer than that even. So yeah, well, I'll do a bit more maths on that, but I think he needs to be about 10 points behind or so. In which case he does need to gain some points. John McHutchison is closing in though. I thought Luke Maxwell would be able to control the race from the front actually, but that's not been the case. Oh, Paul Crabb's off the road for the two-time champion, and he drops down. David Royston's going to get through on him as well, should have the inside at the final corner and should be through as well. Not good news for Paul Crabb, but Brands Hatch doesn't take any prisoners, and there was more contact there with Seth Brown, and Crabb drops outside the top 10.
Yeah, he's lost position to Graham Brown there as well. There was contact with Seth Brown. Of course, there was Browns there tonight. Crabb looks like he's just driving to the point of almost being angry. He's off again. He's in the gravel. He's lost another position to Bousson, to Martina Ward, sorry. Now he's got the ever-closing Mike Bousson up behind him as well. Somebody get hold of Crabb and give him a pat on the shoulder or something, calm him down a little bit, because he looked like for that lap he was driving a little bit outside of his aggression limits and was really struggling there. Edwards again picked up that free place from Crabb. He's now sitting in 7th place.
Yeah, certainly is. Still picking up points, still getting a little bit closer. And of course, the one saving grace for him, I suppose, is that you can't lose quite as many points in a sprint race because it is shorter points. Shorter points. That's not even a thing. Less points. Less points is the phrase I was looking for. Didn't go out though. Anyway, yeah, shorter points. There's less points in between. There's less points in between positions as well, which is what I was getting at a little bit, but failing to do so quite dramatically. But Edwards is going to struggle here really. The maximum I would say he could maybe get is 5th place, but we'll wait and see on that. Lap 6 complete already. It's a very, very quick one. Brands Hatch a very quick circuit, and so we're having a quick race right now. Nearly 3/4 of the way through it already, as Maxwell makes a big mistake there. John McHutchison right onto him now. Yeah,
he's pressurising him currently at the moment. Here on this run up into Surtees, they're just going through Surtees about now, with McHutchison right behind him here as he's going down through Pilgrim's Drop. Is McHutchison going to close up? He is. Is he going to get him going through Hawthorne? He isn't. Is he going to get him going through Dingledale? Possibly not. I think if he's going to be able to make that move, it's going to be the run from Stirling's down into Clark Curve. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at, Ewan, here as well. If Maxwell can't stay close enough, which he doesn't. He seems to, McHutchison, sorry, he seems to lose time through that Hawthorne, Dingledale, Stirling section towards the end of the lap here, which is that middle sector, and that's where he's losing time currently.
Well, it is all about a downforce game here at Brands Hatch. How much do you put on, and are you able to overtake with the amount that you've put on? Well, Simon Edwards has shown that he's struggling to overtake here, although that's not taking anything away from the likes of Paul LeMay or Paul Clark, because they are very quick around here as well. So it's that will be encouraging, I suppose, at least. But he can't get away from the fact that he is still losing points and losing time as well. He's in the 118s right now, whereas the leaders are in the 117s. That's not good news at all. Up towards the top of the hill, late on the brakes, but there's just no way through. It is a hard place to overtake at.
It definitely is. You've got to be properly alongside before you go in to Druids. If you're not alongside, you're not going to be able to run that around that outside line. I think it's just going to be so much slower than any other line there as well. They've got to be able to take in the racing line. Now, you said something earlier on that was quite surprising for me, actually, was you turned around and said, I think the best Edwards can get is 5th. Well, I'm struggling to see because of the fact of who is in 5th. Now, he isn't called Paul Super White Clark in Discord for no reason. And at the track like Brands, he can make that car as wide as possible, can't he? I can't see 5th. I think Edwards is possibly sitting in as much as he can get.
Well, yeah, you might be right. He looks like he's struggling to overtake Paul LeMay right now as well. And with 2 laps to go at the line, time's running out already for Simon Edwards in this race. It's, going to be, well, as I said, maximum 5th place in my opinion. Well, let's hold fire because we've got Dan Webster off the road. Oh, Dan Webster off the road. and that might be the end of his championship challenge. It was looking like slim hopes for him anyway, but that surely may well be the nail in the coffin for Dan Webster. He looks like he's gone off on his own as he was chasing down the 2 leaders. He just got to about a second away, and now he's made this mistake. He's not even in the top 10.
Oh, that is such a shame for Dan Webster here as well. He's going to be really now kicking himself. As you say, we think that's pretty much going to be the end of his championship hopes. Where are we, do you think, at the moment, though, with Edwards and McHutchison and Maxwell? How is that going to pan out at the end of this one, Ewan?
Well, as things run, Maxwell would be 13 points ahead of McHutchinson, and he would be... oh dear, let's try and figure this one out on the fly. He'd be 26 points ahead of Edwards, which is a lot at this stage. So McHutchinson really needs, to gain quite a lot through the final race to keep this championship alive. This sprint race victory for Luke Maxwell is not going to be the nail in everyone else's coffin, but it's certainly a big step towards the title. A second one, of course, for Maxwell, as McHutchinson also chasing his second. White flag is out, I guess, in America. Final lap here in the UK. 10 out of 10. It's been a difficult race for Simon Edwards, but are there any last lap lunges coming here from John McHutchinson? Has he decided to just lay it all out on the line here? I don't see where he's going to do it, really.
No, I can't see either, to be honest. He loses time through this middle section. Another car is off. That's Webster off again. Webster is off again, coming out of turn 1. That's it now, pretty much, isn't it?
It should be, especially with the fact that he's not going to benefit from a reverse grid either.
No.
The hunt for a second title for Dan Webster is going to go on.
Yeah, he's going to be done now as well. Paul Clark, as we know, holding station from these guys with LeMay and Edwards behind him. We know how defensive Clark can be. I don't even think he's being defensive, to be honest. I just don't think Brands lends itself to side-by-side action here with Paul Clark because of where he positions his car, and he's doing a stellar job at the moment. But it is Maxwell and McHutchison coming round the final corner here tonight, mate.
Yeah, and some car lengths between them as well. McHutchinson's thrown everything at it, but Maxwell has as well, and it's enough for a sprint race victory. Luke Maxwell extends his championship lead at Brands Hatch by winning the first race. John McHutchinson in second, and George Gonzaga gets into third. What a race and what a drive from him, as Paul Clark holds off LeMay and Edwards over the line as well. A very important race. The gap now between Maxwell and McHutchinson up to 13 points. Dan Webster's out of it. We're down to 3 with McHutchinson at 13 points. Edwards at 26 as far as I can see. And there's some big gaps now. Maxwell on the verge of clinching the title one race early.
Well, there we go. It's going to be an exciting one, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to see how this feature goes. I'm sorry, but this feature could be absolutely incredible. Phil Glover there, he is in chat. We will try and have a chat with him briefly if we can as well between sessions, but let's see here what Phil is going to be able to comes across the line in 21st place. I'm sure he's not going to be too happy about that one, but we will bring you up the championship, the final results there, Ewan.
Yep, it's Luke Maxwell by half a second ahead of John McHutchinson. George Gonzaga there, what a drive from him to get his first podium, certainly that we've seen him get. Paul Clark and Paul LeMay round out the top 5. Simon Edwards losing crucial points there in 6th, but he will start ahead of his other rivals in the second race. We'll get to that in a moment. David Rolleston 7th ahead of Seth Brown, Graham Brown, and Martina Ward makes the top 10, and she'll be on pole for race 2. Paul Crabb will be 11th ahead of James Child, Mike Booson 13th, Damien G 14th, and David Beasley, Jamie Bird, Phil Jocelyn, Dan Webster finishes all the way down in 18th. That surely now is the end of his championship challenge. Darrell Taylor's 19th ahead of Robert Woodward and Phil Glover. Everybody made it to the line, and everybody finished on the lead lap. I don't know the last time we've really seen that, especially at a circuit as difficult as this one. So fair play to everyone for that. It was a clean race, to be fair, but one with little overtaking, really. But that's, as we've mentioned, it is down to the circuit.
Yeah, it's a very tight circuit. We all know that at Brands. You know, people will, in general, be struggling here, and I think that's one of the things that they have got to try and look out for through the reverse. It's what Maxwell is going to do through that reverse grid. Is he going to push and go for it? Is he going to sit back and think, I'm in the lead here, I've got points, I'm still going to get points? What do you think he's going to do, Ewan?
I don't know how they're going to play it here, to be honest. I think a lot depends on the first lap here. The first lap of Brands Hatch can go anywhere. It can send you into the lead from nowhere, and it can send you off into the forest looking for fruit and stuff. So I don't know, to be honest. It really depends on how that first lap goes. I think from there you've got to kind of look at those around you, look at where you are, and look at where you can get. As we were talking about with Simon Edwards during that last race, I thought that 5th was the most that he could get. In the end, 6th is where he finished. But mainly the overtakes were made due to mistakes from others and incidents for others. So it does seem that it's going to be one of those kind of races where you do have to pick up the pieces from those making mistakes around you. Let's see though. Martina Ward will be starting on the front end of Graham Brown. Then it'll be Seth Brown. And then David Rosden. Simon Edwards, 5th place. Important to note with Paul LeMay alongside. Paul Clark and George Gonzaga share row 4. John McCutcheon and Luke Maxwell hope to get through the midfield cleanly on lap 1. Paul Crabb will be 11th ahead of James Child. Then it will be Mike Booson, Damien G, David Beasley, Jamie Bird, Phil Johnson, Dan Webster, Darryl Taylor, Robert Woodward and Phil Glover, rounding out your 21 car grid. The biggest grid we've had all season long. And it comes right at the end of the season. At a very important race. There's a big few laps coming up here at Brands Hatch. And, of course, if Luke Maxwell finishes ahead of John McCutcheon, then he will be crowned champion. The lights are going to come on for the penultimate time here in the Radical Race Series 2023 Season 1. Who's going to come out on top? Well, we'll find out as Martina Ward gets underway well from the pole position. It's Seth Brown down the inside of Graham Brown into turn 1 with Simon Edwards up to 4th immediately there as well. Maxwell and McCutcheon side by side in the background as Edwards dives into turn 2. He goes a bit wide. There's contact with George Gonzaga there. Oh no, Seth Brown's into the wall. Oh, into the path of McCutcheon and Maxwell, who might well have both been taken out in that. Maxwell's dropping down the order. McCutcheon got through a little bit better. Maxwell's down to 14th place. There is McCutcheon picking him out in the middle of it all. And there's Maxwell as well. The important bit to know, have they got any damage? Maxwell's falling down the order.
Yeah, he's dropping down the order as Damien G put it the other week, or as we put it on Damien G. Faster than an elevator with no brakes. Seth Brown is in the pit, so we're going to try and have a look back and see how that all went out and how it all went down, and it was horrendous.
Contact with Booson and McCutcheon was battling with him as well. John McCutcheon needs to not do anything silly here now because he could be crowned champion by the end of this. Unbelievably, he could be the one to take it over. Let's wait and see on that one as we see George Gonzaga and Paul Clark battling into the final corner just up in front. It's a very busy first lap. Paul Clark's trying to get through here along with Graham Brown, who's on the outside line in towards turn number 1. He's going to run out of road there surely as Paul Clark has the inside line, and he will do on the outside into the gravel. McCutcheon up to 8th place as Maxwell is in the pit lane. Huge news for this championship, absolutely huge, because John McCutcheon, let's not forget, if he's only 1 point behind Maxwell by the end of the day, then he's still champion. He's still confirmed as champion with 1 round to go. This could be huge for the championship. It could be settled in the next 15 laps.
Yeah, this could be all done and dusted by the time we get here as well. Gonzaga went to make the move on Clark, and unfortunately he's now let Graham Brown come up right beside him as well. Oh, Brown's gone round. Graham Brown's gone round. Can he stay on? Oh, he stayed off track. Unfortunately, rear wing gone. Yeah, rear wing gone is now in the pits. Paul Crabb trying to battle away with Paul LeMay. Damien G here currently in 12th place. Maxwell all the way down in 19th place. Is this going to be done? Is this going to be the end for this championship?
Right now, yes. Right now, it would be. But Maxwell needs more points. He absolutely has to get more points. At the moment, John McCutcheon scoring 25. Maxwell only scoring 12. That would level them going into the final race. But McCutcheon is guaranteed right now to score 42 points at the final round, and the maximum you can score from the actual race itself is 40. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's drop rounds, so you just have to take my word for it, to be honest. I can't explain it to you in any other way. You're just going to have to believe me, I'm afraid. McCutcheon at the moment, despite the fact they wouldn't be tied on points, the closest it could be is 2 points behind for Maxwell. He has to get 2 more positions, and then, well, I don't even know what a tiebreaker would be in this championship. I don't want to go there, to be honest. To be safe, Maxwell would have to finish 16th right now, which is looking unlikely, but the parameters change again because McCutcheon makes up a place, and he's up to 5th.
Yeah, he's just gone past Gonzaga there as well. Maxwell, unfortunately, currently down in 19th. He is 8 seconds off Buson in front of him. He needs something. He needs a dramatic somewhere that people are going to get in and involved in an accident. I know we don't like praying for that. From Maxwell's point of view, he's sitting in the car saying, please, someone do something. Because at the moment, as you say, it will be McCutcheon by 2 points at the end. And this is what the confusion of drop rounds makes it. It is confusing. I don't like them. I'd rather they didn't have them, because that's my opinion and I'm entitled to it. But it does cause a problem, Ewan, doesn't it? Like this, he can only get 40 in the last race, but there's 42 that McCutcheon's going to gain. It just makes no sense.
Well, let's not count Simon Edwards out of this just yet either. He can gain 40. He's going to score 41 points at the final race as well. So if he can gain enough points on John McCutcheon, then he could be crowned champion by the end of this. At the moment, it's not quite enough, but if he was to overtake Martina Ward, then he would also get ahead of McCutcheon, and then they would literally be guaranteed to tie at the end of the season. I don't know who would win the tiebreaker. I don't know. I would love to tell you, but I don't know what a tiebreaker would be, because we don't keep track of race wins in the same way that we used to with the one race a night format. Now that we've got 2, nobody knows. Martina was driving, so I can't ask her. So figure it out.
She's not.
She's off. Oh no! Off the road! Martina Ward off the road, and Simon Edwards goes through, but John McCutcheon's going to go through as well, so it would still go to him. He's got to overtake Paul Clark here, though, as well, as 2 more points are gained. But Maxwell is really off the back of the field at the moment. It would be going to the Scotsman.
Oh, so Maxwell is back. He's down below 8 seconds. He's still 7 up until Buson, and then he's got Buson, Beasley, Jocelyn before he gets onto the back end of Glover and everybody else after that. But it is Clark with McCutcheon. Now, I believe Colin Wynn said, can Super White Clark keep Hutchin look behind him from the start? Well, he has done, and now he's got the flying Scotsman behind him. But Paul LeMay, James Charles, Paul Crab are having another little bit of a ta-ta-ta as they go down the straight and coming into Hawthorns now.
Certainly are. And it's me. This is not looking good for Luke Maxwell, I'm afraid. It was looking oh so good at the start. It's not looking quite so good anymore, even with Paul Clark in front of John McCutcheon. It's not really much of a help to the current championship leader. These are the battles going on further down. This is for 6th place on back for James Child, Paul LeMay and Paul Crabb, who are all fighting here. And there's a big train from Jamie Bird right the way down to Phil Glover. It's a huge, huge train here at the end of lap 5. Still 12 laps to go before we get to our championship finale at the end of the season. But this has been a very drama-filled event already, and there may still be more to come yet.
Yeah, Paul Clark has got the defences out at the moment. If Paul Clark could employ a bricklayer to sit on the back of his wing to be laying bricks and walls out in front of McCutcheon, I'm sure he would. They're probably in that car. Here's Clark got Wendy sat in the seat, throwing all the utensils out the window at John McCutcheon as they're coming around Surtees now on his run down into Hawthorne. How defensive is Clark going to be? He's still there. He's got an entitlement to be there, hasn't he? And he doesn't have to let McCutcheon through. He's racing. He's good at race, and that's what he does best. He's just very good at the other stuff that comes with it, with the defensive side of it. So how is McCutcheon going to get through here, do we think?
Well, I don't know if he is. I don't know if he is. let's see though. Right now, just to update you, Maxwell needs to get to 14th. He's up to 18th right now, so it may not be over just yet. We've seen Paul Crabb off the road, and that's helped Maxwell no end. But what about John McCutcheon? He could gain another 3 points here and push it further out of the way of the championship leader, and he's still got 11 laps at the line to do it as well. Here we go towards the line as news have come through of Maxwell gaining another place. McCutcheon can't get through. This is a difficult circuit to overtake regardless. It's being made all the more difficult now by Paul Clark, who's up in front of John McCutcheon.
Yeah, Maxwell's now up into 17th place, chasing down Damien G. G's on a 1:35.09 last time out. Maxwell on a 1:18. Wow. I'm sure something must have happened there. There was, of course, that big drama. But Phil Jocelyn's jumped to the pits. Paul Crabb's in the pits as well. And Paul Clark is still defending for his life. James Child is going down the order. He's off on the grass. Is this going to be another place for Maxwell? Can Maxwell get him before Child gets back on? He's going to be there or thereabouts, I think. To be honest, here he comes on the right-hand side. Oh, he's just not going to get him, but is he going to carry more speed to be able to get past Child and gain another place? He isn't at the moment, but oh, there we go. Child pulls over and lets Maxwell through, so Maxwell's up another one. So work that one out, Ewan.
Two more needed here from Luke Maxwell, and he's back in it. The championship stays alive if he finishes 14th, but that's only if McCutcheon finishes 4th. The parameters will change again, and he'll need to finish 11th if McCutcheon gets to 3rd. So let's see. Up towards the line now. McCutcheon begins to flash the lights. He senses the urgency here. He senses the opportunity. He goes to the inside very nearly. Paul Clark just gives him a little bit of room. He knows what's at stake here. Up towards turn 2. He tries to block him off. Oh, there's very nearly contact. McCutcheon just gets it up in time. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Oh, very nearly he's gone. He's gone for a spin. John McCutcheon from a great position has gone for a spin. He's gone all the way around. Unbelievable. Luke Maxwell's back in this. He could be back in front in a moment. Let's see. 2 more down the road, and Luke Maxwell's right there. And this is absolutely unbelievable. The two of them battling for 15th. Can you believe it? I've never seen anything quite like it before. Suddenly Maxwell's back in championship winning position.
Oh, dear me. McCutcheon looked like he just got frustrated with being behind Clark. Clark blocked him off on the run into Druids. He then come out the corner. McCutcheon went again, flashed his lights. I don't know why you're flashing. He is entitled to race. It isn't. Roll over and let the Scotsman through. Here, tickle my belly, take my place. We're on a racetrack at Brands Hatch in the UK. You've got to go past him. You've got to do it cleanly. But Hutchinson didn't do that. He kicked in with frustration. He hit the brakes, and that car went round. And now he is in that situation during his own frustrations. The thing is, this man is in front of him, and that is where the championship now opens up wide as the Channel Tunnel. It is all open going in now.
Well, this is unbelievable. Luke Maxwell is suddenly in a championship winning position. David Peasley doesn't want to get involved here at all. He stays wide. McCutcheon dives to the inside as well. They're both through into 14th and 15th position. They're so far down as championship leaders, by the way. That is quite remarkable. The two of them at the moment, McCutcheon would actually score. This would actually become a drop round for him, so he would score 42 as far as the scoreboards are concerned, but I don't think it would be enough just for the moment, but we'll wait and see. I don't know if Maxwell can quite clinch it from this point, but I'll do some more maths and I'll try and figure it out, because at the moment it's not quite so clear. But I can't believe John McCutcheon has allowed himself to get into this position.
He got frustrated. He got frustrated behind Clark, and anybody would get frustrated behind Clark. Clark is like an immovable wall, but he is entitled to better. Oh, he's off!
Oh! Maxwell in the wall! Unbelievable again! And McCutcheon, all of a sudden, it goes back towards him! This is the most unbelievable championship finale you've ever seen to a title race ever! Simon Edwards must be loving this, by the way. Where's he at? I'll figure it out in a minute, because he's taking the full 40 points right now. He could very well be back in this by the end of the day as well.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you're not loving this at home, right, about now, what are you watching? Because this is absolutely incredible. Maxwell's gone round. I don't know how his car's got the rear wing. We saw it come off. It went flying. We'll give you in a minute to try and work out what is going to be going on here from Brands to Nords next week. I don't even know. I've not got, I don't even think I'm trying to work it out. I might work in a school, but unless I've got my shoes and socks up, I can't count past 20. So unfortunately for this has been absolutely incredible. We've got LeMay, we've got Clark, we've got Bird, we've got Webster. Are we all good? Are we there?
You're not gonna believe me right now. Simon Edwards is winning this championship, and he's going to win it today, as it stands right now. It's quite remarkable. I can't quite believe it. He would win by 1 point. At very least 1 point, Simon Edwards. Maxwell needs one more place to keep this championship alive, and he can tie with Edwards with one more place. He can try and re-overtake him at the Nordschleife with 2 places here. Maxwell has to be in the top 15 to make sure that Edwards doesn't win it, and he's got to worry about McCutcheon as well. As of right now, this would still be a drop week for John McCutcheon, which is not the worst thing in the world, but he just... Well, yeah, that's it, really. I don't really have anything else to say. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That'd be absolutely fine for him. He would maybe be still involved, but not if Edwards is doing this well. The fact that Simon Edwards is winning this race is putting everybody on the edge of their seat here. Well, if you're a John McCutcheon or a Luke Maxwell fan anyway, it's getting you off your seat if you're a Simon Edwards fan, because he looks like he's on his way to a race win, and there's no way he could win this championship from this position. Surely not.
Well, there we go. This is the open way that this season has erupted into this race at Brands. We're trying to work out, and we've even got one more race remaining at Nords. Is it going to be wrapped up? Give us a rundown. Where are we at currently with people in this race? We've got McCutcheon 14th. We've got Maxwell down all the way down in 17th. He's going to gain a position because Charles has just decided to put it in the barrier there. David Beasley is off as well, so Maxwell's in 15th.
There it is. There it is. So Maxwell's back in position, and we're going to have a championship finale. The way it's going right now, Maxwell with 15th would be doing just about enough to cling on to some form of championship finale. I would imagine he will indeed. So he would have to win at the Nordschleife, but he's still in it. Maxwell's still in it here, and at the moment Simon Edwards isn't going to go home with the championship in Brands Hatch. He's only putting Luke Maxwell in a position where he has to win next week.
Right, so there we go. So, God, blimey. I've got headache thinking about this. This is insane. We've got Edwards is leading. McCutcheon is in 14th, Maxwell is 15th. Currently at the moment, Maxwell has to win at the Nordschleife to keep the championship. Nobody, as they are currently in their positions, can go home with the championship. What about if McCutcheon clears G? Where do we stand then?
Well, not much better for John McCutcheon, really. Unfortunately, he needs a bit more than that. He needs to be within 1 point, because we know that McCutcheon and Edwards are going to score their points at the final race. We know what points they're going to score, which is not very helpful. He might be able to get 2 positions here, though. Well, there they are, off to turn 1 and back onto the road. In the middle of the road goes Clark. Webster's in the wall. That's going to be a place. So McCutcheon's gaining some more points here.
Maxwell's as well. Maxwell's in 14th. Webster's off into the pits. Maxwell's in 14th currently at the moment. I know we're not seeing much replays, and I'm sorry about that, but we are trying to keep up to date with what, in polite terms, in the hell is going on in this championship. We've got McCutcheon in 11th. We've got Maxwell 14th, so they both gained 1, so nothing should technically change there, Ewan. Am I right in saying that? And then we've got Edwards in first. Is anything changing?
Well, I couldn't tell you right now, to be honest. I've got no idea what's happening here. So John McCutcheon is back to... This would no longer become a drop round for John McCutcheon anymore. So he is gaining points with every position that he makes, but he needs to get up to... If Edwards continues to win this race, McCutcheon needs to be 4th, and then he would still be up there for the championship finale, and that would eliminate Edwards. So basically, Edwards and McCutcheon are both be still in contention. One of them is going to go at the end of this race. It's just a case of who it is. Maxwell gets another place. He's making his life easier at the Nordschleife. He's not confirming himself as champion here, Maxwell, and I'd be shocked if he was to be able to, but then again, I don't think much else would shock me at the end of this. It's been quite the most remarkable race I've ever seen. Maxwell's just making his life easier here at the final race with these overtakes. I don't think he can clinch the title realistically in the last 4 laps, but as I mentioned, it's either McCutcheon finishes in the top 4 and he's still involved, or he doesn't and it's Edwards who's still involved.
Oh, well, guys, if you're sat at home just as confused as me and you and are in the box, well, you're no different. I'm sorry, but you're really not. We are trying to work it out. Ewan's in the back with a spreadsheet that does more things than a robot, I'll tell you that much. And at the moment, neither of us can work out where we're at, apart from the fact that we think Edwards is still in it. McCutcheon might not be after this race, and Maxwell is as well by gaining them 2 positions due to the fact of thanking Paul Clark and Dan Webster for coming together. I will try. I don't even know if I want to go and see what happens on the replays, because to be honest with you, now I've got Paul LeMay and Jamie Bird right near each other, but with Robert Woodward as well. Clark's just come out of the pits and, well...
Oh my goodness!
he's there as well.
Nobody move! Nobody move! This is getting ridiculous. We've got to keep everybody where they are. But no, seriously, it isn't looking good for McCutcheon at all right now. I've got to say, Maxwell would still be in the championship lead, but as I mentioned, he has to win the final race at the Nordschleife. In the situation we are right now, Edwards is going to gain a couple of points on him, but if he doesn't win, then Edwards is going to gain more than a couple, and he's going to take the title. There's nothing Edwards can do at the Nordschleife to improve his bit other than win himself, I suppose. He's not actually going to increase his own points tally by winning at the Nordschleife, but he would prevent Maxwell from winning, I suppose. So there is something worth in that. But at the moment, McCutcheon needs a bit of a miracle. He needs 7 places in these final 2.5 laps to keep his championship challenge alive.
Right, well, there goes. I'm sat here just trying to love this. I don't even know what is happening, and at the moment it is just unbelievable here as well from Brands Hatch. We've got Bird and Woodward. We don't want anybody to move position, because that would just throw another spanner into the spreadsheet, and it can't handle anymore. All right, it just can't handle it, so please stop doing it. But at the moment,
I can't handle it.
Ewan's in the back, he's got smoke coming out of his ears as well, trying to work all this one out, so be aware. This is just, right, we've got to, all we know, right, is we've got 2 laps remaining. We got Edwards out in front, correct, done, tick. McCutcheon's in 11th, we think he needs to get 4th, he could be possibly out of it, correct, tick. Maxwell is in 13th, and we think he's still in with a chance, right? He's got to go and win at Nords.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
How has Simon Edwards weaseled his way into this championship fight, by the way? That's outrageous. There was a point earlier where he was winning the championship and taking it home today. How on earth has that been allowed to happen? I've absolutely no idea. But McCutcheon now stuck behind Phil Glover, who's in the top 10, by the way. Hats off to him from 21st on the grid. Paul Clark's out the race. That's not going to gain anyone any more positions, thankfully, for us. McCutcheon, though, really needs a bit more than this. As I said, needs an absolute miracle. Needs 7 places here on this last lap. It looks like his championship chances are pretty much over.
Well, LeMay just got a little bit out of shape there. I thought that was going to be it. Bird and Woodward are together on the final lap. McCutcheon's still stuck behind Glover. Don't forget, as far as we're aware, according to the car pictures that we saw, Maxwell currently doesn't have a wing on that car, because we did see it fall off. But apparently, according to this, it's bounced its way back on. So fair play to Luke Maxwell. Not quite sure how he did that and whether or not he ran out with gaffer tape and stuck it on there. But currently, this is the situation. Bird is being chased down by Woodward. McCutcheon can't get past Glover, who is really there fighting as well. But as we can see, don't contact him, because it's all going to go wrong again. Oh, McCutcheon. Oh, I don't know, Ewan. You take over. I'm all spoke out.
Well, it's a top 10. It's a top 10, and McCutcheon's gaining a few points on Luke Maxwell. He is not even getting close enough, though, to be able to overtake him at the final race. He might well be able to, but I don't know. He's on the outside line, though, at the bottom of the hill, and he should be able to get the place as Simon Edwards comes over the line at Brands Hatch. He's in this championship. Nobody knows how. Maybe he doesn't either. But he's won a very important race here in the Radical Race Series. It is chased for a 5th title. David Rollston's on the podium. George Gonzaga's had the best round of everybody, by the way, with 2 third places. How's that happened? Jamie Burns inside the top 5 with Robert Woodward. John McCutcheon, though, that confirms it. He's out of the title race. So unfortunate for him. His hunt for a 2nd title will go on. This format has been good to him this season, but unfortunately, that mistake a few laps in his battle with Paul Clark has undone it from championship contention. Not only contention, he was winning it at one point, but that's all seems like a world away now. And Luke Maxwell comes over the line slowly, almost as if he's out of breath, because we certainly are, and he definitely is as well. What a race that was, and what a championship finale we set up.
Well, do you know what? I'm sat here laughing, right? And I'm not laughing because of anything that's happened. I'm just laughing for the fact that there's just so much excitement going on. Trying to sit here and trying to commentate on the fact that you've got McCutcheon getting frustrated behind Clark. You've got Maxwell putting himself in the wall. You've got Edwards said, thank you very much, I'm going to go and win it. And then McCutcheon comes again and gets stuck behind Maxwell. And it's just all a little bit dramatic going on here at Brands Hatch. But the results are in. Let's well, there you go, Ewan. They're on your screen.
Or traumatic?
I don't know.
I don't know. Simon Edwards has done it, though. He's won this race. There's nothing more he can do this season to try and win a 5th title. David Rollston and George Gonzaga will join him on the podium. Jamie Bird was 4th ahead of Robert Woodward. Paul LeMay 6th ahead of Martina Ward, who finished inside the top 10 after starting on pole and spinning from the lead. So well done to her. Darryl Taylor, Mike Booston and John McCutcheon round out the top 10. Phil Glover 11th ahead of Damien G. Then it's Luke Maxwell, who's in 13th. James Child finished a lap down. David Beasley was a couple of laps down. Paul Clark did cross the line, but 16th. Dan Webster finished in 17th. He's out the championship as well, by the way. Paul Clark, 18th. Then it's Phil Jocelyn, Seth Brown and Graham Brown to round out your 21-car grid. Well, that was, as I mentioned, traumatic or dramatic. Take your pick, because I don't know. Luke Maxwell will exit this race leading the championship by 4 points. He has to win at the Nordschleife because Simon Edwards is going to score 41 at that final race. It's 40 points for a win, so he will lose 1 point no matter what. Luke Maxwell's winning margin will be 3 points if he does it. If not, who knows what it will be. But there's a very narrow window of points it can be in because of the drop rounds. John McCutcheon, unfortunately, out of the championship now because he's not close enough to Simon Edwards. He can't overtake Simon Edwards any longer. And so he could still finish second. He can still finish ahead of Luke Maxwell, but not in front of Simon Edwards. That was quite unbelievable.
Yeah, and Godden 13 has put on YouTube, what a race. Now all breathe. I think that's what we can do. We have got interviews lined up ready for you there, Ewan. If you want to start with third place man George Gonzaga or Luke Maxwell, who would you like to go with first?
Should we start with Maxwell because we've seen something quite remarkable here tonight. So let's bring him in. Still championship leader somehow. Luke Maxwell joins us after an evening, I guess, of racing you weren't quite expecting there, Luke. Did you have much idea what was happening there while that race was going on or not?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of obviously managed to pit and get back in and just thought, well, I'll just get my head down and see what happens. I know that the tyres are going to be a bit of a nightmare. I know John had an incident and then I ended up in front of him and thought, okay, we'll just keep going then and see how things end up. But then I binned it. So I think I got damage after that. So it was just a case of just going around to get the laps in, to be honest. So very disappointing second race, but good first race. So I suppose it's it's good. What's the lead? Do we know?
Well, I'll tell you what the situation is. You're 4 points ahead of Simon Edwards, who's now second.
Yeah.
John McCutcheon is, and we're just watching the replay of the start, by the way, and where you got a little bit of damage from. So there we are. You're 4 points ahead of Simon Edwards. You're 11 points ahead of John McCutcheon, who was unfortunately out of the championship now. McCutcheon can't win it any longer. Simon Edwards definitely can. I'm afraid to tell you this, Luke, but to win the title, I'm fairly sure you have to win the final race, and there's no other, and there's nothing else. There's no other way you can win it. I think you have to win no matter what.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know.
How do you like the Lord's
No pressure, no pressure, buddy.
It's Nords, isn't it? It's a great track. I don't know how the tyres are going to be there after that many laps. I think when we did last year it was four laps, and they were pretty hot after that. So it's going to be an interesting one, and all to play for. Well done, Simon, tonight. Good race.
It's 7 laps coming up on the next week, so we'll see how it goes. But I want to know, as a driver, we didn't really know what was going on through that race. We had calculators everywhere, steam coming off both our heads, trying to figure out quite what was happening in terms of not only the championship, but also just the drama that was going on in that race. When you're a driver and you're actually in the cockpit, of course, you're only focusing on yourself, but how much of an idea do you actually have of what's going on around you? I
was keeping tabs on John at the end there just to see how many places he was making up. I could see, obviously, Simon was winning, my app that tells me where people are. So, it was a case of, well, let's hope the damage isn't too bad. But still to be leading, I guess, is a positive, really, after that race.
Certainly is. And now that you know you have to win, how are you feeling about the Nordschleife next week?
Well, I guess, doesn't it? It depends how the others do, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
If I'm winning by 4 points, then if no one else finishes and I don't finish, then we're good, right?
Well, this is what I mean. Because of the drop rounds, no.
Oh, okay, right.
Because they'd score better drop rounds than you is the point.
Yeah. Okay, in it to win it then.
Well, exactly. This is what I mean. It needs to be a win. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you that, but it does make things exciting for us, and a little bit more simple than today. I'm glad to report as well. Just knowing that only one result matters. It's where Luke Maxwell finishes, and that is it.
Oh, it should get my head down.
We're glad about that. But Luke, thanks very much for joining us after quite a remarkable evening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Luke Maxwell there. Not quite aware of quite the scale of the task he still has ahead of him. I've never known a championship leader under so much pressure going into a final race. But there we are. Let's start with the actual podium drivers now then in that second race, starting with Simon Edwards, who has won that one, and he's weaseled his way into a championship fight somehow. I've no idea how. I don't know if you do either, Simon. A quite remarkable race, as we've said many times. McCutcheon and Maxwell both having their issues, but you were able to drive to the front and get the lead pretty early on in that second race. How was it?
Yeah, I think I was lucky with the first race, not spinning off and killing myself. So that gave me a good starting position in that second race, and everybody just fell off. I only had to pass Dave at the beginning, and then everybody else fell off. I was lucky in that first incident that I didn't get caught with any with him. Was it Damon G? I can't remember who. Was it Seth, actually? Seth. I think it was Seth. Yeah. Seth, luckily he didn't bounce across in front of me, but he did in front of other people. So I got lucky there, really. But I was having a bit of VR trouble in that second race like I'd had the other week. So I was being really super careful, but luckily I had a buffer to play with, so I just stayed at Dave's pace or a bit faster. And to be honest with you, it was fairly easy. That second race, I didn't really need to push into the 17s very much, so I just made sure I had tyres at the end. But I'm not going to say it was a hard race because it was given to me, really.
A nice, comfortable win, and I don't know how much you're aware of that, but I just want to ask you before I tell you quite what's going on. How likely did you think it was that you would still be involved in the championship fight after the first race, especially where you'd lost points again to Luke and John, who of course they looked really strong in that first race, and they looked like almost unbeatable for the second as well. Did you really believe that you were still in it by the time the second race had started?
No, but I've got really good pace here, and I was really, I'd convinced myself I was going to be on pole with a 17.2, and I didn't do that, so I didn't win the first race. I screwed the first race, So no, I'm not. I didn't even think about it while I was racing there. So my thought was to try and win both races, but it's so hard to pass here.
Yeah.
So hard. I was even thinking, am I going to get past Martina here? But luckily she made that easy for me. So yeah, so I've looked into it really.
Well, yeah, I can tell you now that after that race, you're only 4 points behind Luke Maxwell in the championship standings. After all of that, which means basically the only result that matters is if Luke Maxwell wins the race at Nordslife, then he's won the title, and if he doesn't win the race, then you've won the title, and that's as simple as it gets, really, for that one. So, how are you feeling about that now, going into the Nordslife, knowing that?
I'm nervous because it's an endurance race as well, so we've got to try and keep the tyres going.
Yeah,
it's such an easy track. Yeah.
7 laps around the Nordslife. I guess the only thing you can do, you can't increase your score because of the drop rounds. You're currently dropping around this, which is more than you can score even for a win at an endurance round at the moment. So you can't actually add to your score, but I guess you can prevent Luke Maxwell from winning by winning yourself on the day. So I guess that has to be the aim. But Simon, we'll let you go and enjoy a successful evening in the end. Congratulations on race 2 victory, and we look forward to seeing you for another championship finale next week.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks very much. Simon Edwards, race 2 victory, and somehow still involved in this championship. Now let's bring in the other podium drivers, a bit less championship talk and a bit more race talk. First of all, with Dave Rutherford, who joins us now from second place in race 2. Dave, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening.
It's a good second race for you there. How are you finding Brands Hatch this evening?
I've always enjoyed Brands Hatch, but it's a challenge just to avoid the off tracks, because one little touch on the grass and it can end in tears. But no, thoroughly enjoyable.
Certainly, I mean, all the chaos in race 2 obviously happened behind you, but I guess the only thing you had was trying to chase down Simon Edwards, which obviously is very difficult. I don't think many people in the world could manage it. So how did he keep you kind of focused throughout that race, really, knowing that Edwards was in front and you had a pretty big gap behind as well?
Well, early on, yeah, it was a case of hoping Paul could keep John McCutcheon at bay and just build a little gap, because I knew that they'd be a bit slower fighting with each other. Keep it smooth, and then I just sort of head down, concentrate, and see if I can get a podium. So thankfully I did.
Absolutely, and one race to go in this season now, Nordslife. How do you get on around there?
It's brutal, isn't it? Absolutely brutal. I've got to get some practice in, plenty of sleep, and make sure I'm fresh as a daisy, and probably still bin it in turn 1.
It's not an easy circuit, we'll put it that way.
No, I'm starting to like it.
Well, yeah, it is enjoyable when you get it right. It's just a problem that only happens about once in every 10 laps. But anyway, just to me anyway. But anyway, congratulations on second place here tonight, Dave, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Cheers, Ewan. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Dave Rotherford, second place here today at Brands Hatch in race 2. And now joining us as well from third in both races, race 1 and 2, is George Gonzaga. Now, welcome to the booth, George. Good to have you here.
Hello.
Third place in 2 races. I guess tonight couldn't have gone much better for you.
Yeah, it was really good. First of all, good evening, Ian and James. Yeah, it was really good. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. And I kind of had front row seat to the show of the race. So that was kind of interesting. Yep.
You were one of the only drivers actually to really make it through the field in the second race. It's so hard to overtake here, but how did you find it coming through the field and actually trying to get past people?
Yeah, well, in fairness, I knew I had to pass Paul. So that was my goal. Even on the launch, like I knew I had to pass him, because if I would get behind him, yeah, it would be super hard to get past. So that was my goal, and then I managed to do that. And then it was just managing tires. I knew I had the pace, so yeah, it was pretty much that.
And one more race to go this season, Nordslife. How do you feel going around there?
I love it. So yeah, looking forward to it, to be honest. Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones. So it can go either really well or really bad. So one mistake, you're in the wall. So not much chance for error.
Never an average race at the Nordschleife.
No.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, exactly that too. Let's hope that it goes well for you, though. Best of luck for that. But for now, enjoy a couple of podium places here tonight, George, and we'll see you next week.
Will do. Okay. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks very much. George Gonzaga there joining us from third place in both races. And of course, now joined by Phil Glover, who had a difficult race 1, but returned with nearly a top 10 in race 2. Phil, how was that evening for you overall?
Yeah, so first race, as you quite said, difficult. It's probably how I'd describe it if I was talking to my granny, I guess. Yeah, it was. Well, can't really say much about the first race. Second race, yeah, not too shabby, I suppose. Was it up to 11th from? I think I started last on the grid, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I was desperately holding on, hoping John wouldn't catch me. And the typical because he was not catching me too quickly at one point, and then the psychology kicks in, doesn't it? And you see John in your mirrors, and you start overdriving, trying to keep in front. And so, maybe I could have, if I'd have just had, not overdriven a couple of corners, maybe I could have just hung on. I don't know. It was a bit of a tussle, wasn't it? I gave him enough space, though, I think.
Yeah, it was a nice battle in the end, and unfortunately you just missed out on a top 10. But what about next week? Have we got a top 10 on the cards at the Nordschleife? What's going to happen around there?
Well, it's so unpredictable, isn't it? I'm not too bad. I quite like driving on the track, so I think it's all going to be about getting a decent grid position, and we'll take it from there, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Look forward to seeing you there, Phil. But for now, congratulations on a nice drive, especially in race 2 here this evening. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks, Ewan. Cheers, then.
Thanks very much, Phil Glover there at 21st and 11th here tonight at Brands Hatch. Well, James, I don't know if I've ever experienced a race quite like that, or an event quite like that. It was going all relatively normal in race 1, and then, well, very unnormal in race 2 is how I describe it. Just not like anything I've ever seen before.
No, I don't know if we could actually sit back and say that was a normal race. It was going normally, and then McCutcheon drove it frustratingly nearly into Clark, and then that put him down, and then Maxwell binned it as well and was involved in the incident with Seth Brown that gave him damage, just dropped him down, then he went into the pits, then he got in front, and then he spun it and binned it and lost a wing that was apparently magically put back on as the race went on. So to be honest with you, I think if you've sat in chat and you've not loved every minute of this, then I don't know what would get you excited, because that was just absolutely incredible. Both of us at one point, as you say, steam coming out of our ears. We didn't know what was going on, who had to be where to make it down. But what we do know is next week we have got a championship shootout. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you haven't liked, please do so. And if you don't want to miss the championship finale, turn on the bells, because then you definitely won't miss it. But it is going to be amazing.
It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Just to remind you, as if I haven't said it enough times already, Luke Maxwell has to win at the Nordschleife. If he doesn't, any other result other than a win for Luke Maxwell, Simon Edwards will win his 5th title. It's going to be a monumental battle between the two of them. We've seen it before. Maxwell and Edwards have been close going into the Nordschleife race before. On the last time these two had a championship finale together, it was Luke Maxwell that came out on top in season 3 last season. I think it was season 3. Or was it 2? 3. I think it was 3. Yeah, it was 3. Yep. Good memory from me there. But yes, it's going to be a huge evening of racing. So make sure you join us for that here on the JPB YouTube channel for next Radical Race Series action in 1 week's time. And make sure you join us for all the other stuff as well by subscribing, of course, and tuning in here where we've got racing going on pretty much all day, every day. So it feels like that sometimes. So we'll make sure you subscribe and check it out across the platforms. But for now, that's it from us here at the Radical Race Series at Brands Hatch. I hope you can all have a lie down now and rest a little bit after all that. We certainly are going to. I've been Ewan O'Leary, James Parfitt alongside me, and until we see you next week for the championship finale, it's goodbye for now.